Let's do it. Welcome to the show, everybody. Since we don't have anyone here yet, I want to kick off with this idea that my buddy Adam ran by
Boom.
me, man. And it was actually funny because it was an inspiration from one of our newsletters. One of the things we put
Mm.
up after we did some mushies out in the hills of Lisbon. So I'm gonna share my screen. You can actually have a look at the interface he's already drawn up. So Adam is a developer living here in Lisbon, and he there's the button. Okay, continue to share screen. Okay, there it is. Share. I'm gonna show you. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
So we were talking about this meditation app that we sent out in the newsletter, and this was the result of it. Where you can actually take your cursor, hold this ball of radiating energy, take a slow, deep breath, and it's basically this big ball that's hovering, and you can hold it with your thumb or your mouse, and it's giving a bunch of prompts so you can further connect with your inward self. Um, and I gave him some feedback on it. I thought it was pretty cool for somebody to take of something that we created through one of the newsletters and kind of put their own spin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah, there you go. Into the energy ball. I think it's gonna be tough to understand if you listen to this on the podcast, though, without any of the visuals.
Yeah, yeah. But
This is
if
where it
you're
gets
listening to
cool.
this, you can refer to the, oh, wow.
Drop the energy ball into the light. This is where it gets cool. Ready? Pop it in. Ready? Whoa! And then that's the end of the experience.
Wow.
That cool?
That is cool.
Yeah.
So the
So
whole time the person's supposed to hold this energy ball down with their thumb.
that's the idea. And the feedback I gave him was I like the individual experiences around different meditations. And I thought it'd be
Hmm.
cool if you drag the ball around, it then could activate the different experiences. You know, you can have like one corner for relationships, one for gratitude, one for meditation, another one for mantraing. So the ball, in a way, becomes your key into these different experiences and these different meditations. So you can kind of move at your own
Mm.
pace.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So that's the next step, man. And yeah, like Adam, he's a fucking psychonaut, man. He loves hallucinogenics, meditations, a lot of the same stuff that we're into. He's really into it. Also,
Nice.
super talented developer.
Nice. Is he gonna pursue the idea more? Or
I believe so.
was he just messing around a bit?
You know, he's been building meditation apps for a long time, and he's working at Mercedes Benz as a full stack developer. Recently left his job, and he's looking to um, turn what he wants to do into something that's viable, as we all are, right?
Dope.
And he's really leaning hard into the world of meditation and mantraing, and it's going to try and figure out a way to make that full time gig.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
That's the move.
yeah, that's what we all should be doing. It's not for
Yeah,
everybody, but I think it's a worthwhile pursuit in my eyes. Um,
definitely.
what
I think
ideas are top?
I think
Sorry, go ahead.
I think I was gonna say I think any pursuit where you are, pursuing your own expression, your own interest, your own curiosity is worthwhile, is beautiful. That's what we should be doing. That's and what's so crazy to me is the most privileged people in society are typically the ones who uh, do that the least. It's
Hmm.
interesting. Like we have like I consider myself to be extremely privileged,
Hmm.
right? In terms of economic privilege, in terms of how I grew up, in terms of, I have a lot of privilege in my life. And yeah, I feel like that's something that we should recognize, and recognize the freedom to explore, the freedom to pursue, and
Hmm.
recognize that's not an opportunity that certain people have. right? So we
Yeah.
kind of owe it to the world to actually pursue that and bring these things into the world and see how we can contribute, right? Rather than enslaving ourselves to, be doing shit that we don't want to do. In the most privileged echelons of society, you have a lot of people doing shit that they don't want to do, doing
Hmm.
things that make them unhappy
Yeah.
voluntarily on a daily basis. So,
Yeah.
yo, shout out to you, Adam. Shout out to
Yeah.
you, Adam. That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say. Live your truth, brother.
Yeah.
Live your truth. You
Yeah.
know.
Man,
Okay, so if
we
we're
gotta get him
kicking
on the
off,
show.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. You're right, because we get caught up in this sort of, you end up doing what people want you to do, and
Yeah.
not what you feel called to. And you're right, because if you are one of the lucky people who are lucky enough to find yourself in a position where you can contribute and really like set that example, you should take advantage of that, man. You should take
Yeah.
advantage of it. Um,
Yeah.
because most of us, like, you don't have to worry about missing a meal. You don't have to worry about putting food on the table, right? You have no
Right.
excuse not to do whatever the fuck it is you want to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I heard an
Yeah.
interesting metaphor the other day that really resonated with me. I met with this Ayurvedic doctor. I'm meeting with him
Oh,
bi-weekly
cool.
now. Yeah. He's a smart guy. Getting my diet together and some other things, and it's just good to have someone to talk to you about your health and keep tabs on you, right?
Definitely.
And one of the things he mentioned was this beautiful metaphor of, you know, all of life is like aiming a bow,
Mm.
right? You have your intention is where you aim the bow, and you have your attention, which is how far you can pull it back once it's aimed, right?
Mm.
So a lot of people,
Wow.
and this goes for everything, right? So you cultivate higher attention through meditation, through deliberate action, through day after day focusing on what you're doing. You can pull that fucking thing back way farther, right? For a much stronger shot,
Mm.
right? But a lot of people don't sit down and really find and recalibrate where their intention is aiming the bow. And that's where things
Mm.
get fucked up, because you can even pull that fucking bow back as hard as you can. And if it is not aimed in the right direction, you're not going to go somewhere where you really want to. And
Yeah.
I feel like there's a huge lack of intention in the world, right? We're very
I agree.
unintentional as human beings,
I
as a
agree.
collective, and very unintentional as individuals,
Yet another thing we don't teach.
right? We don't. We don't teach it.
Intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say pay attention as if it's already there, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
And
True.
you get in the habit from a very young age of living someone else's intention. I intend to teach
Ex-
you mathematics, science, music, right? Pay attention to what I'm fucking doing, right? And you become
Exactly.
instructed, and you lose the side of you that makes you into somebody who can actually create something in the world. And like nowadays, there's no limitations on your channels, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm.
I agree with you.
Handy P.
Mm.
Um, yeah, pay attention, right? Pay me your attention as if you owe it to me.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, dude, since we're kicking off with ideas, I'll give you a little
Hmm.
update on Groove with Gaia.
Yeah.
So we have about 20,000 people on the account. And we've been making just content around like mindfulness, movement, Mother Nature. Right now, we've been really pushing the dance agenda. This morning, 6:30 a.m., we were out on the beach live streaming a dance session,
Mm.
and people joined. People joined the live stream. They were like, "Yo, what are y'all listening to?" They tuned in and were dancing in their rooms and shit with us.
Fuck yeah.
Um,
Hell yeah.
yeah, and we started reaching out to brands.
Hmm.
So yesterday we did our first reach outs to some missions that we really believe in. Namely Light Force Academy, the Kundalini platform that we use. Um,
Wait, what? What is Life Force
yeah,
Academy? Sounds like something
dude,
worth
Life Force.
joining.
Oh, dude, 100%. I told you about it. You should join it.
I've never
It
heard of
is
Life Force Academy in my life.
okay. I think I mentioned it to you. So you have Jai Dev and Simrit. They're a
Oh,
couple,
I know Jai
and they
Dev.
are
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're the realest yogis I've come across in terms of a style and an approach and messages that really resonate in a way that really resonates. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it's their essence, I don't know if it's the tone of their voice, I don't know what it is, but something about them just really resonates. And they are on a mission to bring to bring more people into their purpose, into their calling, into their mission through unlocking Kundalini,
Mm-hmm.
unlocking life force, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're on this really amazing mission. And they have the best Kundalini, they have the best yoga platform I have seen yet, like in terms of the organization, in terms of the production quality, in terms of the variety. So yeah, we reached out to them, right? Because we do their practices. Sometimes we live stream Kundalini practices. So it's like now we're at the point where okay, we have 20K in our community. People are really picking up what we're putting down in some really interesting ways.
Mm-hmm.
People have used our sound, yo. Check this out. I'm gonna show you.
Mm-hmm. Your sound.
I'm gonna,
Which one was your sound?
bro.
Oh,
These
this is a
are
TikTok thing. Some millennial shit.
these are all people dancing in nature
Yeah.
from a
Whoa.
from from a sound that we created.
This
We
morning?
created we No, we did that like a week ago. We created this sound about dancing. We did a voiceover about dancing in nature and embracing yourself as an expression of nature, really moving with the beings that we share this planet with. Anyway, we got people using the sound. We started reaching out to brands, so I think we're going to start looking at some collabs. Um, and dude, I spoke to Spotify. I spoke to Spotify this week. I spoke with
Mm-hmm.
a friend of mine who works for Spotify, who's a product marketing manager on the developer side of the business,
Mm.
which is perfect because to facilitate a dance using Spotify just released this Connect API
Mm-hmm.
where people can actually tune into the same stream. So I think having that connect into Spotify, if we were able to pull together like a quick little prototype or MVP, and we're looking to start hosting dances here in
Mm-hmm.
Honolulu. So that's just a
Mm.
little update.
Man, I love the
So,
concept of hosting the dances. And I love the concept of a silent dance platform where
yeah,
you can tap in and like host these things because people are at home, man. We got to move our bodies, and people
we got to move our bodies.
got to move our bodies. And you have this ability, but it feels like you're doing it at a loss when you don't have a sense and semblance of community or curation, right?
Yeah,
And I think you guys
yeah,
can bring that back, and you're the right people to do it because you're already doing it out in nature, right?
yeah. And we've been doing it since last year, since we were in Bali, right? And grew a community of people dancing. And
Yeah,
now we're here, the stay at home orders lifted. And you know what else it does? Not only curation and community, dude, permission.
yeah,
It's so insane. Like just inviting people to a space and saying, you can move however the fuck you want to move. You can
yeah.
express however you want to express. And that is totally encouraged here.
Hmm.
Like that permission is game changing for some people, you
Yeah.
know? Um, but yeah, we need to move, bro. We've become such a sedentary species.
Hmm.
We've become so freaking sedentary,
Yeah.
you know? Like we
It's
really need to
it's
move.
really unfortunate how little we celebrate what our bodies can do. You know, there
Right.
there almost
Yeah.
seems to be this culture of hating your body, of your body's not good
Mm,
enough, you'll never fit into what you want it to be. And I think we need to flip the script and say, hey, look what my body can do, right? Like
yeah.
pe-
Yeah.
people go to the gym, they look in the mirror and they're like, yo, fuck you, body, fuck you, fat me. You
Yeah.
know, like I used to be that way. You know, like the
Yeah,
motivation was
yeah.
not to be fat, right? Versus
Right.
a way
Right.
healthier lens to look at it through, and the one that I really encourage myself to get into is like, wow, look at all the things my body can do. You know,
Yeah.
I'm doing my
Yeah. So
squats a bit better.
celebrating the body.
Yeah, like in like in my yoga, I'm moving it, right? I'm grooving it. I'm doing poses I couldn't do before. And it becomes a celebration rather than a punishment, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
the
yeah.
fuel behind what you're doing and moving your body, it's such a healthier, more sustainable fuel that you feel like is comes from a place of love and is unlimited versus fear and hate, which is very degrading. It's
Yeah.
unsustainable.
Yeah. It is unsustainable. How do we change that narrative? Because that is the de facto narrative, right? Is like the
Mm.
shaming and the fear and the hatred.
Mm. Well,
So what do you think?
the
Mm,
first thing to realize is you're perfect the way that you are, and you're exactly what you're supposed to be in this current encapsulation of wherever you're at. Right? It's
yeah.
a lot of people, they'll yearn for the past and their past in their youth, right? And like, oh man, I used to be able to do this, or they'll yearn for the future self, where they're ripped and toned and whatever they want to be, and they lose touch with the fact that where they are right now is the destination. There's no destination. There's nothing to be yearned for. It's
Yeah.
where
There's
you are
nowhere to
right now.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the truth is, if you think you're going to gain weight and you get into this mindset of, I am fat and I will remain fat, or I am this and I will remain this, you will probably remain that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's tough. Like I get into this trap all the time. It's like even recently, man, I moved from a keto diet to a vegan diet. Right.
Mm,
And I just haven't figured out how to eat vegan yet. I don't know what the healthy way is. I'm
mm.
not a very good vegan. You know, I had an acai bowl today, tons of sugar. Having a glass of wine right now, and I've got this gut back, man. I got a gut again. You know, I didn't have a belly for like 8 months here on keto because you're just like lean and trim,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And man,
And
I've
how
just
long did that take? How long since
fucking
you transitioned?
weeks, no time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I believe that I don't know if I believe it, but some people have told me, including my doctor, that my body type is prone to having a bit of a gut. You know,
Mm.
and I don't feel like I'm not buying fully into that yet, but you
Are
know,
you kapha?
yeah,
Mm,
that's the word he used. How did you know that
yeah.
word? He's an Ayurvedic doctor.
Ayurveda.
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'm just learning about all this shit. I don't know anything about it. This dude, I met him
Yeah.
randomly at Selena, where our buddy works,
Wow.
and
Interesting.
he's like, yeah, I'm an Ayurvedic doctor. I left America, and I'm doing this consultation. I combine astrology and Ayurvedic medicine. I'm like, cool, sign me up. So I got 3 months with him, biweekly meetings, and just someone to check on with my diet and all the things I'm doing and keeping in line with my goals for my body.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
but one of the things I've been struggling with, it's like, you know, is I put on this weight and I don't feel as sexy, right? How do I continue to love my body through this transition, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
and also without defaulting back to, hey, I'm gonna eat a bunch of meat and cheese and shit where I know my heart rate's gonna be way higher. It's unhealthy for me, but I look fucking great, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
so I think
Mm.
it's this like, you know, it's just embracing my body as it is right now, right? Rather than yearning for what I was or what I'm going to be, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've just started like, man, I touch myself differently because like even when you touch yourself and you got a bit of a gut, you kind of touch your side of your abs, you know? You deliberately touch the
Yeah.
parts that don't have any fat on it, you know?
Mm.
And I find
Yeah.
myself now it's like I dig into my belly, man. I embrace it. I fucking shake it. And I'm like, okay, cool. This is what I got right now, man. I'm going to
Yeah.
recognize
Yeah.
that and I'm going to own it. I'm going to love it all the same. You know, I'm not going to
Hell yeah.
ignore it or try and hate it and like fucking hate through it in the gym. It's like, I own this. I'm beautiful the way I am. And I'm going to, and through that love, it's going to form into the perfect encapsulation of me, whether it's with a gut or not.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
hell yeah. That is empowering. That is empowering when you can fully embrace, embrace who you are at this moment, right? At any moment, right?
Mm.
And really live in that embrace. I think that is so empowering,
Yeah.
you know.
You know what the other interesting thing is? We're not taught that.
No, we're not taught that either. What the fuck are we taught, yo?
Yeah, what are we teaching our kids,
What
man?
are they teaching kids? Like,
What should they be teaching kids is the better question.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we named a couple since being on this recording, right? Intention, right?
Attention.
Embrace attention,
Yeah.
embracing yourself, right? Like really the depth of embracing yourself,
Well,
right?
it's even like, yo, the fact there's different body types. We
Yeah,
I never fucking learned that.
bro. We
I thought
have
I was
these.
just a fat ass my whole life.
No,
But dude,
no.
I had to be very real with myself because this girl, my friend Philippa, she does like keto vegan and she's super amazing person. And when I made this transition, she gave me like all these recipes and all of these everything I needed to like transition properly, right? And
Yeah,
I was talking to her and she's like, "Yo, my body type is this I forgot the word you used, Ayurvedic. It's prone to having a gut. And I believe you are too, just based on looking at you." I was like, "Oh,
mm,
interesting." And I looked it up. It turns out there's a lot of science behind this. The fact that there's different body types that are prone to different ways of retaining fat and just your body, right? Like most people go through, and dude, I'm very fucking active. Like I go to
yeah,
yoga 5 times a week. I walk up and down the hills of Lisbon. You know, I go to the gym and lift 4 days a week. And it was funny because I didn't believe it. I was like, no, I'm not one of those. Like my body's not like that. Yo, and then I started looking at the last decade of pictures. I've always had a gut. My whole
yeah,
life I've had a gut. I've never been fucking trim and ripped in with the six pack. You know? And I was like, oh,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
there is something to this, right? But you don't fucking learn that.
yeah.
You just real learn you're
I
fat, you're
agree.
fucking fat. You know? Like
Yeah,
even in
yeah.
my healthiest state, I'm probably never gonna have a six pack. You know?
Mm, mm.
Which is an interesting thing to fucking admit to yourself, right?
Yeah, but I think, we have set these ideals, right? Like
Mm.
if you Google the word beauty and go to images, you're gonna get just like one look of person. And
Mm.
for since I guess since we've entered this commercial age, we've just been bombarded with these ideals of what beautiful is, of
Mm-hmm.
what ideal is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really been one thing. It's the same with education, right? We only measure, we have one ideal, right? We're
Yeah.
we're we're curating an entire curriculum based off of general intelligence, which is some bullshit.
Mm.
So you have like we keep on. It's this concept of normal, of
Yeah.
average, right? And
Mm.
this illusion, it's the illusion of the average, right? The illusion that there is an average that we need to compare ourselves to,
Mm.
right? And if either we're at this or we're not at this, right? And it's like
Mm.
we've created these ideals. It's an ideal driven way of existing that we've indoctrinated. we
Mm.
we indoctrinate this way of thinking,
Yeah.
based on what gets perpetuated through all these channels.
You know, it's funny. I agree with you. And the other thing I realized the other day is I feel as though I've been cultivating very deliberately this emotional intelligence. Some will
Mm,
call it
yeah,
intuition, right?
yeah, for sure.
And it was very interesting reflecting on it. I'm very blessed, extremely blessed in my life to be on a team and working with people who recognize the value in my emotional intelligence. Like
Wow.
in my intuition and my ability to meditate and lean into things and also admit when I'm wrong. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
expand
for
that EI.
sure.
And I feel very blessed because my work encapsulates that, right? They see it. As you said, it's not about productivity, it's about performance, right? It's about the holistic
Yeah, yeah,
sort of, holding space for people, bringing a sense of fun, bringing a sense of positivity and emotional intelligence to be able to hold space for the people I work with, right? And I'm very fortunate because, we don't value that, right? You look at a
for sure.
resume, there's no gauge of emotional intelligence,
Not at
right?
all.
So even if
Even
you
in an
go on these,
interview, there's no questions, there's no ways to gauge that, even in interviews.
mm, yeah, yeah. What questions would you ask to gauge it?
Dude, it's hard with COVID. It's hard
Not
because
possible though.
everything's remote.
Well, I mean, if we
Not
if we base if
impossible.
we base everything off of like the world in COVID, I mean, do we base everything off the world
Yeah.
in COVID? Should we? Are we ever going to leave COVID, or is COVID just going to be
I
swapped out
think
for something else?
dude, dude, I think this is gonna be yeah, it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Mm, yeah,
We can do what we can do about it, but like a lot of it is out of our hands. I am not a biotech expert. I
yeah,
am not a wealthy, billionaire who can put money into finding, cures about this. I think we're pouring all of the money and political will into it that we can at the moment. So really, it seems like it's going to be what it's going to be. I mean, the fastest time that we have found a vaccine for a global virus has been 7 years. The
really?
average is 20.
No
Yeah,
shit, huh?
that's according to this documentary. Now, you can watch the documentary and tell me if you think that it's BS or not.
Are
But
we
it
wait? Are we gonna stay in EI or are we going COVID? Because this is a whole. I got to get myself another glass of
no,
wine.
no, no, no,
We're going COVID.
no, no, no. I was gonna bring it back from the detour
Okay,
because you
okay.
asked, are we ever gonna leave COVID? No,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of gauging emotional
Yeah.
intelligence
Mm,
in a perspective higher,
yeah.
um, yeah, it's really tough, hey, because you want it to be situational, right? Like I feel like the best way to gauge emotional intelligence is situational, right? And I guess let like how would you define emotional intelligence?
I feel like it's the ability to tap into your intuition,
You're really low. I don't think your AirPods are connected to the whereby. I think it's on your computer audio.
oh, damn. Yeah, now can you hear me?
Yeah,
My bad.
yeah,
Um,
all
I
good.
believe it's the ability to. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Cool. I think it's the ability to tap into your intuition when it's a high stress environment, right?
Right.
Where you can continue keeping your filter up and take in more information than what is being presented to you verbally, right?
Right.
Your depth of available information stems beyond what has been verbally said to you and what you have read, right? That's general intelligence. Like I see everything in front of me. You can tell me something, right?
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
can listen to something, I can read something, I can read these emails, but it's more so it's what's beyond the words, right?
Yeah.
And there's been
Yeah.
situations where I've been with
What's
coworkers,
between the lines?
yeah, where I just the very first mention of like hello, I can tell it's a very high stress situation for them,
For sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
and the way they're speaking is a bit quick and something feels off, and then you can slow down the conversation and say, hey, how you feeling? Right? Like, where you at? And, I've had situations where this has happened with people who it's not even regular meetings, just like, hey, like, tell me about what's going on at home. And like one girl was like, yo, I was going down the stairs and I twisted my ankle. I'm in these crutches and I haven't exercised in 7 days. I was like, oh, and just being cognizant of that because she's not announcing that to the whole company, right?
For
She
sure.
doesn't she
Yeah,
doesn't want to come
100%.
for a number of reasons. It's more so being able to pick up on that in an intuitive way and knowing how to respond in a way that you can see them as human and not as a productivity machine,
Yeah.
right? You build a safe space for anybody, and no matter what it is you're going through, right? It's like I've had coworkers say, "Hey, I'm going through my period right now." I'm like, I'm struggling at home. I'm doing this, and recognize that when you work with somebody, it's not always about the mission. It's also about our personal missions and our personal goals, right? It's about a holistic, integrated human being, right? Where you respect their space and their emotional space as much as their intellectual space, as you would any other component that they're contributing, right? They contribute their emotion, they contribute their quote unquote vibe, and it's integrating it holistically into whatever the mission is, and not just focusing on the
Yeah.
output.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Um, yeah, so I guess that does speak to the point that, yeah, it's hard to gauge that in an interview or on a resume because it is very situational, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But I think you gauge it without asking questions, right? Like I think you
High
can gauge it
EI
in an
people.
interview.
This is the interesting thing.
Yeah.
People with high emotional intelligence can tell. Um, and
Yeah, exactly.
em-
Exactly.
people who are empathic, right? It's you can feel through somebody much more effectively when you are high EI, right? You can feel with your body, you can feel the way they
Mm,
respond, and it's best to you know it's also in their expression, right? Their expression of gratitude, of joy for their past experiences, for their future ambitions, right? If you stay focused on like, oh, like what's how does what you do apply to the job? It's more so like, ask them about their previous employers, right? See the
yeah,
way
for
they
sure.
talk about them, right? See the way that give them
Mm,
opportunities to express gratitude, right?
mm,
In any situations they've previously been in, give them opportunities to express regret, right?
mm,
In any previous situation, and you'll get a much closer gauge for the EI of an individual.
mm. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
100%.
Or
And
just ask
what's
them.
even mm,
One good question now that I think about it, it's like, tell me about a situation where you were vulnerable with a coworker.
ooh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great question.
because you're gonna get some
Um,
people who are like tilting their heads, like, what vulnerable? What do you mean?
right, and then it's like, you don't have, you're not getting the job. Nah,
Well, it's
nah,
more so like
I know. I'm
it's
joking.
it's it's more so people have this premonition of what do you mean EI like vulnerability? I'm a high flying badass, right? And
Yeah,
in
for
some
sure.
situations, that might be what you're looking for, but there's other situations with like customers. So I think this should be applied to all positions. A lot of times, engineers, for whatever reason, get a pass on this, right? You don't have to have emotional intelligence to be an engineer. Oh, he's just a coder. He doesn't have to fucking show up in the way
Yeah,
that we do, right?
right. Yeah,
I believe it's a mistake hiring for talent and not having some semblance or some baseline for EI in your company.
I agree. I
Hmm.
agree. And it's crazy how we do that across all fields.
Hmm.
Like think about the bar. They don't give a shit about emotional intelligence on the bar exam.
Hmm.
Think about the medical exams, right? There's a way to gauge emotional intelligence on these exams. It's like
Yeah.
we live in this standardized testing mentality where it's like if you can do the job, cool. If you can answer these questions, great. But
Right.
how important do you think emotional intelligence is to be a lawyer? To really to work with clients,
Hmm.
to understand to empathize, to understand, to with your clients, right? The
Yeah.
person who you right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man.
Uh,
I got some ex-girlfriends who are attorneys, and you know, I don't know. I don't know how valuable it is. To be perfectly honest with
I,
you, you know.
yeah, I guess. Is it not?
I'm
I
not saying
get
it's not. I would never. I would never
Yeah,
say. I don't think EI is bad in any situation because if you
I
have high
agree.
EI and you can bring emotion to what you're doing comfortably without judgment, you're generally going to be happy in whatever you're doing, right?
Mm,
When you seeing it as a cog in machine and a fucking gear turning the wheel, that's when people get burnt out and they feel disrespected and they feel very low energy. So
yeah, for sure.
it's not a matter of usefulness; it's a matter of all around happiness and embracing your whole being in the context of your work, your play, and your personal life. Right? You
Mm,
hear stories
mm,
all the time about men coming home from their job and they're harsh with their wives, they're mean to their children, right? Because
yeah,
they're seen as this cog in this machine that's without emotion, and they begin to encapsulate this vision of themselves as a cog in a machine without emotion. Um,
yeah,
it's a dangerous place to be in as a man, or as anybody, as any human being.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But I feel like males do get that sprung, do get in a lot in different countries in different
mhm.
contexts get indoctrinated with that type of thinking.
Yeah.
Get indoctrinated with um
Yeah.
yeah, with needing to hide and needing to shield themselves,
Hmm.
of needing to yeah, they get indoctrinated with hiding themselves, with shielding themselves.
Well,
And that
it's
is a
interesting.
dangerous thing.
It's
It's a
interesting because
dangerous thing.
I would even consider America to have that sort of culture, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. I think yeah, I think so. I think it's beginning to change. But I think we're
Pretty
just
rapidly too.
we're
I
pretty
would argue
rapidly,
pretty
pretty
rapidly.
rapidly.
Yeah.
I think this change is happening pretty quickly when you consider like societal changes and over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, this country especially. I mean, dude, the indoctrination of gender roles is so toxic,
Mm,
so
yeah.
toxic. And I think yeah, we are making changes rapidly in this country,
Hmm.
and I think because of that, we'll probably make changes somewhat rapidly as a global collective because of just the connected nature that we live within now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I do think it's toxic, man. Yeah, and you're right. There is no situation where emotional intelligence is not an asset. You know, do you think that everyone is capable of cultivating emotional intelligence?
100%.
Mm.
100%. Everyone is capable. I mean, obviously, like people call, oh, but what about sociopaths, right? What about psychopaths? These people who are incapable of feeling emotions for another person. Maybe those people exist, right? But
Hmm.
I feel like as a general rule of thumb, anyone in humanity can because I guess and like I guess you could even say I'm the example. I feel like I had
Mm.
extremely low emotional intelligence when you first met me. All those years
Mm.
ago. I would describe myself as someone who is very low EI, was very encapsulated into mind, and lacked the basic components of someone who has empathy and love for other people in the world. You know,
Mm.
and it was
Hmm.
through a lot of deliberate changes, and luckily I had these mentors and all the places I go in my meditation that have kicked my ass into beginning to cultivate EI.
Mm.
And I still have a long way to go, right?
For
Like it's
sure.
the journey hasn't even begun really. It's been a very short amount of
Yeah.
time. Maybe I'd consider it maybe a year now where I've really been going hard and really starting to weed out some shit. So
What
I
was
do.
that tipping point? What happened a year ago? Or was it more just more of a natural flow into, was it just more of a gradual over time, but you recognized it a year ago?
I've recognized a pattern of happiness into unhappiness, of
Mm,
success into depress, a
mm,
roller coaster where I would hop in and out of today I'm happy, tomorrow I'm sad. Today I am successful and lovable, tomorrow I am sad and don't come near me, right? And I cultivated and like, dude, it's no wonder. Like, you look at my childhood, if you know my parents, if you knew me growing up, right, or anyone in my family, it's no wonder, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
all love in my family was conditional. Like it's the conditional on
Mm,
success, on getting the right grades, on doing
mm,
what was expected of you. It's a Middle Eastern family,
yeah.
so I was taught this, and I found myself in this insane pattern of it always felt shaky. If I'm feeling good, like I was just like kind of waiting for the crash. And I recognized in myself, I need to find a center where I can pull love from consistently
Mm,
and get behind who I think I am into in like in this encapsulated body and all these labels and all these like different metrics for success into the thing that doesn't change. Like even if I change, there's a part of me that doesn't change. There's a part of me
for
that is
sure.
eternal. There's a part of me
Yeah,
that isn't only loved but is loved.
yeah.
And I've put in a lot of deliberate effort into really committing myself to freedom, freedom from the labels and freedom from anything that isn't that encapsulation of love, and also recognizing when I'm in that place. Uh, and I found a lot of solace in that. I found a lot of solace in returning to that place that doesn't change. That's beyond labels. And I believe it's
Mm,
in every one of us, you know.
mm,
But it does stand the heart and the center and the thing I'm describing. I feel stands in contrast to the mind in a lot of ways, right?
mm,
There is an ego, and the ego loves to convince itself that it exists, right?
yeah.
You have this ego um, that really wants attention. It wants to be recognized. It wants to be a part of your field and in your part of your mind in every moment of every day. And it takes a
Mm,
lot of work to quiet that in favor of something a bit more profound.
mm,
Yeah,
mm. And what are
yeah.
some of the ways that people can begin to quiet that?
A lot of us have been told at some point or another in our lives that we're not good enough, right?
Yeah,
You haven't gotten the grades, you didn't make the team, you didn't, you're not. You're
right.
not what you think you are,
For
right?
sure.
And we develop this sort of mindset of where this man in the middle will never break through to what we want to be. And you become addicted to that sort of mindset. And it's very important to recognize, fully integrate and believe that we're exactly where we're supposed to be,
Yeah.
right? We are loved. We are loved for everything we are, and we're loved for everything we are not. We are loved for being fat, skinny, for being successful, unsuccessful, for being homeless or in a penthouse at the top of New York, right? And
Yeah.
it really, and everyone talks about this shit, and I know it gets a bad rap. It's like, oh, gratitude and like all this like bougie shit, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot to
Yeah.
that because you become
For
grateful
sure.
for your body, your mind, and everything you have today. The gratitude is the key because like
Mm,
it's through that gratitude, no matter where you're at, you return to that space of positivity and gratitude and thankfulness. You're never going to have a bad day.
yeah.
it
Yeah,
really is the key to some higher echelons of thinking, some higher frequencies of self-love. And
agreed.
every moment becomes a prayer, right?
Mm.
You know, the food you eat
Yeah,
tastes a bit better, right? Every interaction you have with the
for
partner,
sure.
with the person at the store, everything becomes encapsulated in this field of gratitude, and you just become grateful for every moment of every day, right? No matter where it's
Yeah,
spent.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know, there's this
yeah.
great
This.
story I heard
Mm,
yet today that really resonated with me.
what is it?
About this farmer. And the farmer's horse runs away. And then the farmer's neighbor comes over and is like, "Oh, your horse ran away. It's so terrible. It's so terrible." And the farmer goes, "You never know." The next day, the horse returns to the farm with another horse, this beautiful stallion, this wild stallion, right? And the neighbor comes over and is like, "Wow, the horse returned with another horse. I have two horses, right?" He says, "That's wonderful. That's absolutely amazing." And the farmer says, "You never know." And then the next day, the farmer's son hops on the horse, the wild stallion, this beautiful white wild stallion, riding it around, and he falls off the stallion because it's wild and untrained. And he breaks his leg. And the neighbor comes over and says, "Wow, oh, it's absolutely terrible what happened to your son." And the farmer says, "You never know." And then the
Mm,
army comes by, right? And they're recruiting people to go off to war in a faraway place. And they let the son go because he has a broken leg. He's of no use. And the neighbor comes over and says, "Wow, it's wonderful that happened." You know what the farmer said?
you never
You
know.
never know, right? And it's because the farmer's greeting everything without labels that comes into his life with gratitude, right? Thank you for that
Yeah.
horse, for this horse leaving me. Thank you for my son's broken leg. And the same thing, thank you for this new horse. You know, thank you for everything that comes my way. Not the good things and the bad things, right? Where we put these labels on them, they're
Mm,
temporal, right? Everything that comes through comes with a air of gratitude. And with that gratitude comes the right mindset, which encapsulates itself in the events and everything that precedes it.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Here's an interesting
Wow.
exercise.
Who'd you hear
How
that story from?
Ram Dass.
Ah, cool.
Gotta listen to those lectures, yo.
I know, I
Yeah.
know.
Mm.
Dude, I was trying to find the link in our WhatsApp conversation, but I'm gonna find it. It shouldn't be that hard to find. We
I'll
don't
resend
have
it
that
to
long, like,
Yeah, I'll resend it to you.
yeah,
Um,
cool.
wow. But I feel like there's an important lesson to be learned here, and that's to be grateful for everything. Not just the stuff that you want, right? Not the things that we
For
count as
sure.
blessings versus curses.
For
You
sure.
you
Yeah.
meet everything that comes your way as an old
With
friend.
gratitude. Yeah.
And here's an interesting one. How do we become grateful for COVID? Right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
how can you cultivate a sense of gratitude for everything that COVID's brought?
Mm,
Global pandemic.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is a lot to be grateful for, right? In the context of COVID, right? Um, perspective, grateful for perspective, grateful for the perspective that it's given myself and a lot of other people,
Mm,
grateful for the experiences that it's afforded, to be in, grateful for the, the solitude that some people have had, right?
mm,
Grateful for the time, grateful for the time that it's allowed,
yeah.
right? Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot to be grateful for with COVID, and I think expressing gratitude and being grateful doesn't, is not the same as, yeah, putting these temporal labels on it, right?
Hmm.
like the good or bad, right? I think gratitude is its own essence, own energy, its own feeling entirely, and truly can approach everything with gratitude.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's
Easier said than done, right?
way easier said than done. But imagine a world where you can suspend all labels, right?
Yeah,
Even the most terrible things that happen to
yeah,
you, you meet them with a sense of gratefulness. 'Cause you really don't know.
mm, yeah. Do you think that there's a role that software can play in cultivating gratitude in people's daily lives?
A role
Do
that
you
what
think
can
there's
play?
any role for software?
Oh, fully and completely.
Mm,
I believe that one of the biggest gaps I see in software is um, manifestation and reflection. Right.
mm,
This is why
mm,
Headspace and Calm are now multi-billion-dollar companies because there's only people out there doing reflection right. Right. You have this huge
yeah.
influx of journaling apps, of meditation apps, of everybody coming at this from a different angle, right? To cultivate um, reflection and mindfulness. I do believe it's possible. It's just it takes work. It takes work and it takes
Yeah,
intention, right? And
yeah,
it's interesting because a
mm,
lot of people don't even realize they're missing this component, right? Well,
for
there's
sure.
a fucking lot of miserable people in the world, right? Who don't have a daily
Mm,
gratitude practice.
mm.
This little fucking bookie, this 5 minute journal thing, this has changed my life. And this is also, now that I think
Wow,
about it, you asked about the thing that changed me. It's been about a year and 3 months since I started this. This could have been the key, right?
wow, yeah,
Every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm grateful for, the structure is I am grateful for three things. What would make today great? Daily affirmations, I am. And at the end of the day, three amazing things that happened today. And how can I make today better? All right. The whole day is just a gratitude sandwich. In fact, I recently broke up with my partner in Venice, right? And she asked me, she's like, hey, we have all this stuff. I'm going to put it into a storage unit, right? Is there anything that is really important to you that you want me to take with me so it's on my person and I won't get lost? And I'll bring it
mm,
to your parents in Michigan. I said to her, I'm like, two things. One, my old passport. Two, my old 5 minute journal. I had
nice.
tens of thousands of dollars of shit in that apartment, right? More things than you can possibly imagine. The only things I cared about was my five, and honestly, forget the passport, right? It's just nice to have. It's a nice to have, but the 5 minute journal, I would not give that away for anything because that's my record, man. That's my whole. When I need advice, when I need guidance, when I need reminders of why I'm waking up today and why I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm going to look at that book.
Mm, mm.
There's probably a better way to do it.
With grat, yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
With gratitude,
it's everything.
cool.
Because you can
Yeah,
have everything, man, and if you're not grateful for it, if you don't fucking appreciate it, what difference does it make, right?
yeah,
If you're a
yeah,
multi-billionaire,
exactly.
and there's somebody out there that encapsulates this. There's somebody who's got a lot of
Oh,
fucking money who sees the world is continuing to owe them something and can't wake up and smell the flowers, right?
yeah. I would
And
say, yeah, probably more than one person, 100%.
yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
common. And I was like
it
that
is
for a long
common.
time. I was like, I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. I'm this, I'm that. And like, I could have done this, but I'm not doing that. And I'm here. And there's something that I expect of myself that I'm not fulfilling, right?
Yeah,
Without just
mm,
looking at the world around and be like, wow, thank you, thank you, thank you.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I've wrestled with this concept of enough. This is also something that came up in my, in my most recent ceremony in February.
Mm.
with the father, with the grandfather, um, around, and we were doing this whole exercise around our soul council, and exchanging, removing the members of the council that aren't serving you and replacing them with new members. And one of
Mm.
the things I was eradicating at that moment was enough.
Mm.
This council member of enough, this concept of enough, right? Because there's always like, there's this thought of um, you know needing enough, not having enough money, right? Not being enough in my current state. I've faced actually some pretty deep set physical insecurities around my body hair, right?
Mm.
And that, and it was so subtle, but like that ceremony really brought it out. Like, damn, this is something I've been wrestling with my whole life,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, totally. I
Something
know. I know.
I've been grappling with my whole life, feeling like my body hair isn't beautiful. Feeling like I need to tweeze my face because it's abnormal to have hair growing on my cheeks, And
Mm.
like now, embrace,
Yeah, exactly.
embrace,
Yeah. Yeah.
embrace, brother.
Yeah.
In fuck
Yeah.
embrace.
That's the
You are enough. You're always enough. You always have enough. You'll always be enough.
yeah.
Eradicate enough.
Yeah. 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 I'm with you.
Because enough means that there's an expectation,
Mm.
right? Enough means that there is an expectation, right? Um, and I feel like that concept of enough a is a fear driven approach, right? Now,
Yeah.
how do you convert that? How do you channel that? How do you transform that into gratitude? How do
Hmm.
you bring that back to a place of love? How do you love all this fucking hair? You know,
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah.
right? Yo, it's a beautiful thing, brother.
it's and the other it's man, the word enough is like all expectations are traps, right?
Yeah,
I am this versus I should be that. This is this versus this should be that, right? It's a very dangerous game when you start and nothing things, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. This is enough, that is not enough. And if you actually looked at your
Yeah,
life holistically, right? Maybe this is where the gratitude comes in, right? And you say, I have enough here, but not enough there, right?
mm,
I'm enough here, but in 2 weeks it's not going to be enough, right? And
yeah,
everything is measured against this standard of enoughness. With
yeah,
gratitude, everything is enough. You're grateful
mm,
for it. You love exactly where
mm,
all these little fucking meters in our heads are at, right? You
mm,
embrace it fully and completely without judgment. And so
mm,
everything becomes enough because the standard in the baseline in the measurement is removed. And you say thank you, thank you, thank you for everything, for all
yeah,
of it.
mm.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
Should we leave it there,
I think that's it, man. It's been
or what were
real.
you gonna?
No, it's good.
Yeah,
I'm happy with it. It's been real, guys. Thank you for listening.
cool.
Join the webcast next time. We like talking to you too.